that is induced magnetism. The ship is having a permanent magnet developed, which can be oriented in any which way. So horizontal plane में movement हो सकती है, vertical plane में movement हो सकती है. The ship magnetism is now understood to be divided into three components. That is PQR. This PQR is going to produce different kind of effect on the compass. The compass which is there is going to produce different effect, and each has to be treated separately. Each has to be corrected separately so that the deviations are minimum or zero. उल्टा बोलना चाहिए बल्कि so that the deviations are nil or to a minimum. Apart from that, the permanent magnetism, there are various kind of structures on the ship which acquire magnetism depending on the heading of the ship and latitude of the ship, which angle, how much, what polarity, all will depend on various conditions. Where the ship is sailing, which hemisphere, what latitude, what heading, depending on that, various structures will be having different kind of magnetism induced, and on different conditions, the compass will be affected differently. We being in the second mates for so long now, we are in phase 2 class, so much of experience, we know deviation and we know variation. Variation is, as we have already seen, the angle between true meridian and the magnetic meridian, which keeps on changing. Deviation is caused because of the ship's magnetism, which has the two sources, permanent and the induced magnetism. Today we are going to talk about the induced magnetism of the ship. As we said, structures like girders, pillars, beams, deck plates, crane booms, so many things acquire magnetism depending on all the situations that we discussed. It is impractical to go to each of these structures and find out how much magnetism in this pillar, how much in there, how much in there, how much. Ultimately, what it will result in is an overall effect on the compass. And so what we do, the approach which is taken, it is a convention, it is a method of understanding the magnetism of or induced magnetism of the ship, and we are trying to address it by means of imaginary rods. By means of imaginary rod. These rods may be considered as soft iron, imaginary. It is not existing. It is the net effect of all the magnetism put together. We discussed in last class that there are three planes that we have discussed around the compass. If this is the compass, there is forward aft line plane basically. There is athwartship plane and there is vertical plane. In this three planes, there can be these rods which are either aligned forward aft or aligned. The plane is forward aft. Isme there can be a soft iron which is horizontal and for aft like this, or it can be in athwartship direction, or it can be above and below the compass. So this forward aft aligned rod can have three possible locations: forward aft, athwartship, or above and below. Similarly, a soft iron rod, imaginary one, which is aligned athwartship, can be forward aft, can be athwartship, or can be above and below. Similarly, the third rod, which is a vertical rod, could be placed forward or aft of the compass, can be port starboard of the compass, or can be above or below the compass. So 3 into 3, 9. 9 imaginary rods, and they are named as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, K, omitting I. So these are the 9 imaginary rods which are going to produce some kind of effect on the compass, and that in the later part we are going to address all this so that the deviations caused by them are reduced to a minimum. So let us first understand the different type of rods and how the rods are given a polarity, positive and negative. Each of these rods, as we said, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, all these rods can either be positive or negative. So we have a convention of naming the rods or giving a polarity to the rods. What kind of effect are they going to produce? We will go to the slide for understanding this concept. Let me go to the slide. सो ये कल PQR की बात तो हो गई थी, मेरे ख्याल से समझ लिया था आपने. So soft iron on the ship. As we already discussed, 3 planes: forward, aft, athwartship, and vertical. In all these 3, there can be rod which is forward, aft, athwartship, or vertical. So 3 into 3, 9 possible situations. What we are saying here, that if we are considering this rod, it has to be in that plane. At least one end should be in that plane. That means what we are saying, if this is the compass, if we are taking a rod like this, so at least one end should be in that plane. Which plane we are? We are forward aft plane. So one end of the rod, the red one, is falling forward of the compass. If we are having a rod here like this end is falling port of this. So it is not forward aft rod, it is port starboard, athwartship rod. Or it should be somewhere here. So read the last sentence once again. If we want a rod to be attaching a plane key, it is in this plane. If we want to say this rod is in this plane, what is the criteria? One end, at least one end, should be in that plane where we are trying to place it. एक एंड फॉरवर्ड या आफ्ट में हो तो हम उसको फॉरवर्ड आफ्ट बोल सकते हैं। एक एंड अगर अथवार्डशिप में है तो हम बोल सकते हैं, या ऊपर नीचे हो तो बोल। So now here some imagination is required. Before the imagination, there are certain rules that we must understand. Now that we know that there are 9 rods, there are some sign conventions given to each of these rods. Overall, the rod will be positive or negative, but that will depend whether it is positive or negative will depend on the ends, how they are named. That means if a rod is like this, whether it is positive or it is negative, that will depend on how these ends are given the sign. Now there are two ends which can either be positive or can be negative. There is other end which can be positive or negative. So right now on the screen itself, you have this case, the bottom case. The end is positive or negative. Let us take example that it is positive. We will see how it is positive. We will discuss कि अगर ये पॉजिटिव बोलना है तो कैसे बोलेंगे इसको पॉजिटिव, वो अभी हम देखेंगे. But let us say this is positive and the other end also is positive, then the whole rod is positive. If it is negative, both the ends are negative, then also it is positive. Positive, 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 negative, negative, positive. Simple mathematics का rule. On the other hand, if one end of the rod is negative and the other end positive, then how should we name the rod? Common sense or common mathematics?
Negative.
Negative.
This will be negative rod. But how do we call one end positive or negative? For that, there is another rule. If we have the compass here, if an end, the near end of a rod, near end of the rod is forward or starboard or below, अगर ये condition है, the end which is closest to the compass. Of course, we are saying that this end is close to compass, this end is close to compass, and what we have a vertical rod which is below. मतलब अगर साइड व्यू देखें तो कंपास यहाँ पे है, तो नीचे में रॉड ये होगी और उसका ये एंड बोल रहे हैं बिलो द कंपास. In this case, all these points are positive. Are we getting it? Confusing?
Understood.
All right. So what we just discussed, the sign convention. Okay. जब बात कर रहे हैं तो पूरी कर ही लेते हैं. So what we have seen, if this is the compass, if one end is closer to this compass, or starboard, forward, and below is all positive. If the rods are aft, port, or above the compass, in this case they are negative. तो क्लोजर एंड तो हो गया, दूसरा एंड कैसे होगा? the one end which is remaining for sign, how do we name it? They will also be named accordingly. If the other end, the left side, the orange one with the arrow mark, this end is again port of the compass. So this is also negative and this is also negative. Both the ends are port of the compass. The other end, the right side, the other end is also starboard of the compass. इसको तो हमने positive बोल दिया. Other end is also positive. Then this also is positive, and hence this rod is positive. This rod also is positive because negative, negative, positive, 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 positive. The one that we are seeing at the bottom, the orange rod, जिसका closer end हमने यहाँ पे रखा है. So this end is negative. The closer end to the compass is negative because it is aft of the compass. And the lower end is also aft of the compass. So this is also negative. And hence this rod becomes again positive. Negative, negative, positive. So now there is one remaining on the top, forward of the compass. Please name the rod. And first, which is closer to compass. What is the sign? मोहित आपको नहीं बोलना है, आप समझ गए हो, पहले भी शायद सुना है आपने. Somebody else please help. Anyone?
Sir, positive.
Which end? The closer end to the compass?
Yes, sir, closer end.
Okay, closer end is positive. This one is positive. The other end, जो सबसे ऊपर में है, the other end also is forward.
Positive, positive, sir.
Positive. So positive, positive, positive.
Total positive.
So all this that you are saying is positive cases. Now we will take a look at the same thing, but I would like you to write down this rules of naming the rod, because this is giving a concept which is very important. As we have seen, the closer end, if it is forward, starboard or below, then it is positive, otherwise negative. That means aft, port or above. One end has been named. Second one is getting named by the same rule. Then to finally give a total sign, overall sign to the rod, we multiply these signs. If both ends are positive, if both ends are negative, then they are positive rods. If one end is negative, the other end is positive, then the rod is negative. So please jot it down and tell me when you are finished. Finished?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Everyone?
Yes, sir.
So now we are looking at the first plane, forward aft plane. So ship is like this. There can be a rod which is like this. There can be two rods. These are two individual rods. We have already discussed closer and positive. The other upper end will be what? Also positive. So overall the red is the rod is positive. The bottom one, the closer end is aft of the compass, so negative. The other end is also aft of the compass, both negative ends. And so this situation gives rise to rod A. Rod A is a horizontal imaginary rod which is aligned forward aft and in the forward aft plane. So what we are saying actually that the rod is aligned forward aft and it is also aligned on the forward aft line of the ship. Then this is rod A. And so we call this positive A.
Excuse me, sir. एक क्वेश्चन है.
Please.
सर, ये जो ए कंपोनेंट है, ये शिप के परमानेंट और जितने भी इसके इक्विपमेंट है ऊपर जितने भी, वो सबका कॉम्बिनेशन है. तो जितने
Basically, yes.
परमानेंट हो गए, उसका एक कंपोनेंट ए है जो अगर इस तरीके से अलाइंड है तो ये
हाँ.
पॉजिटिव कंपोनेंट बनेगा.
Exactly. ये ओवरऑल इफेक्ट है.
अगर सदर्न हेमिस्फीयर में ये हो तो ये सारी पोलैरिटी चेंज होगी.
As we said कि अलग अलग टाइम पे अलग अलग मैग्नेटिज्म डेवलप होता है, तो ये रॉड्स की लोकेशन जो है वो चेंज हो सकती है. इन सर्टेन केसेस one will be in action, rod A will be in action, rod B may be action, maybe rod F may be in action, maybe a combination of these rods may be in action. तो अलग अलग लोकेशन पे अलग अलग latitude, that is in different hemisphere and on different headings, these will keep shifting here and there. Sometimes you will have impact on the compass, which is due to rod, let us say B and D. Then when you change heading, P and D will go away a little bit, or it will be down. Some other will come up, surface. Some other will surface. So they will produce other kind of magnetism, and they will cause deviation. Let us say rod K and rod C, for example. We will look at that. We will take a look at that, how these are going to change, and what is the overall effect of this. As we have seen, for example, that let us say ship is going on this northeasterly course. So there will be rod A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on. So the combination of all these rods are described by means of coefficient of deviation. हम लोग एक स्टेप आगे बढ़ गए जल्दी से आपके क्वेश्चन के चलते. But the net effect of all these rods are described by means of the deviations that they cause, and they are categorized as coefficients of deviation. There are 5 of them. Coefficient A, coefficient B, coefficient C, D, and E. All of these coefficients are going to cause deviation. All of these coefficients are basically the maximum deviation, which are caused by combination of these rods A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, K. So when going on a heading, given heading, then what is the total deviation? Because there is coefficient A, there is B, there is C. How all these are available? How do I find out कि मुझको correction deviation लगाना कितना है? That I want one figure. If I have to steer a course, I need to find out total deviation. So the net effect of this, A is kind of permanent, हमेशा उतना ही लगेगा. B will depend on sign of the course. C will depend on the cost of the course, for example. D will depend on twice the course. E will depend on twice the course of the cost of the course. So different situations. We are jumping right now. It might become confusing. So let us go one step by step.
Okay, sir.
Right. So we have positive A. There can be a forward aft rod, which is not two separate rods, forward and aft, but one single rod, imaginary single rod, which is running forward and aft like this. We will do this exercise for all the rods, all the 9 rods. So don't be very impatient here. Repeating again and again will only hammer this information into our minds so that we are comfortable in understanding this. So since the one end is forward, the other end is aft, so naturally the orange end will be what?
Minus.
Positive. So this will be the situation of the rod. Now overall, this is aligned forward aft. Remember that this we are talking about forward aft plane and a forward aft rod also. So this overall rod is giving rise to an imaginary rod, forward aft rod, aligned forward aft, which is negative A.
सर ये एक बार एक्सप्लेन कर दो, ये पॉजिटिव ए और नेगेटिव ए कैसे आ रहा है? वो तो समझ में आएगी, आगे वाला एंड पॉजिटिव होगा, तो पीछे वाला नेगेटिव कैसे होगा सर?
Okay, this end is forward of the compass. Oh, sorry, एक second. कहाँ गया? This end is forward of the compass. Is that correct?
यस सर, करेक्ट सर।
So positive.
यस सर, पॉजिटिव।
The other end is aft of the compass or not?
यस सर, ऑफ।
So two ends, forward is positive, lower one is negative. So the rod becomes negative. Minus into plus is minus.
यस सर।
This rod was plus, this rod was plus. Why? Because plus plus plus, minus minus plus.
ओके सर, ओके।
Think again, take a look, ascertain, clear your understanding. Think about it once again, talk to yourself and see, yes, it is okay.
सर इट इज ओके सर।
Okay, good. So then we have in the forward aft plane only, we are still talking about forward aft plane. Look at the top of the screen. But this time we have another rod which is horizontally, sorry, athwartship aligned. The rod is athwartship, but it will be forward aft of the compass. So we have like this. The center line is not the rod, that is the forward aft line of the ship to show the alignment of the athwartship rods. Center line, please omit or take it as the center line of the ship. In this, can you see one end is here, the other end is little away? The one end which is closer to the compass should be named what?
Positive.
Positive, sir.
पॉजिटिव।
Very good. And the right side of the end of that right end of the rod should be given what sign?
Positive, sir.
Because it's stop.
Why?
Starboard side of the compass.
Very good. Very good. Bingo. So we have these two rods, and now you can understand that how they are named. I think now it is going to appeal to you. Yes, okay, it is going all right now that we have understood. So the forward rod also is a positive rod. The aft rod is also a positive rod because again plus plus minus plus 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 minus minus plus. And so these rods will be termed as positive B. Now I think you are beginning to expect कि आगे क्या होगा. Again we have the shape, the compass and the center line, and there are two rods which are again aligned athwartship direction but placed forward aft. One end is forward, one end is aft. Opposite situation as that of the plus B. Give the sign to the ends. First, what should be the sign of this end?
पॉजिटिव एंड नेगेटिव।
This one is negative, you are saying. Why negative?
So because it's port side, sir, and the one which is forward will be
बिकॉज ऑन द पोर्ट साइड।
Exactly. The one end which is closer to the compass is forward of the compass, and so it is positive. The other end is port of the compass, and so it is negative. Similarly, the bottom rod the closer end is towards the closer end to the compass is
Negative.
aft of the compass, so that should be minus, and the
और starboard
other end,
negative.
Positive.
since it is starboard of the compass, so it should be given the name negative. And so overall, these two rods, if placed like this, should be given a sign which is minus B. So in this situation, as we have seen, rod A can be positive or rod A can be negative. Similarly, rod B also can be positive or negative depending on their location with respect to the compass. So we are still talking about the forward aft plane, a rod which is either forward or aft of the compass, but this time this is the third rod which will be aligned vertically. So now we are taking a side view of the ship so that we can see the vertical placement of the rod. Compass binacle you can see there. There can be a rod. Again, remember that we are measuring everything with the plane of the compass. So this dotted line which you are seeing is the plane of the compass, and there is a rod which is placed below but forward of the compass. Forward aft line में plane में हम देख रहे हैं. This vertical rod is forward of the compass and below. One end which is closer to the compass should be given what kind of name? Anyway, let us see. So rods are like this. So forward rod, top end, give the sign.
Positive.
Positive.
The other end, forward rod, bottom end.
Sir, since it is to the starboard, it will be negative.
Negative because it is not starboard, but it is
Below,
below the
below.
compass. Sorry, positive
Negative.
because it is below the compass. Look at the rules that you have written down, please.
So below the compass होगा तो positive होगा.
पॉजिटिव होगा. सो दूसरा एंड बिलो द कंपास है ना, एक उसके लेवल में है. टॉप एंड इज लेवल विद द कंपास एंड फॉरवर्ड, सो पॉजिटिव. अदर एंड इज बिलो द कंपास, सो पॉजिटिव. Similarly, the aft end, aft rod, one which is level with the compass, the bottom end, please give the sign to it.
Negative होगा. नीचे.
Negative. It should be negative. Why? Because it is aft of the compass. इसे बहुत शोर हो रहा है बॉस. Okay. And the top end? Negative.
Negative.
Negative. Why? Because it is above the compass. So you have got it all correct. So this is how the sign of the rod is. This is C rod. This C rod, these two rods are C rods, and so they are positive C rods. Now you know what to expect next. The shape is still like this, but the location of the rods have shifted, interchanged. एक फॉरवर्ड में चली गई ऊपर और एक आफ्ट में चली गई नीचे. So naturally, The forward rod, if we see, the one end which is level with the compass is positive because it is forward. The other end is above, that is by negative. The aft rod, the end which is level with the compass, closer to compass, is aft of this, that is by negative. But the other bottom end is below the compass, so positive. So this C rod will acquire this meaning. And so the rod is negative C, minus C. There are three kinds of rod: forward, aft, athwartship, and vertical, which we have been placing forward aft of the compass, not at the athwartship. Next will be to understand in athwartship plane. Again, the rod can be forward aft, can be athwartship, can be vertical. Rod can have three orientations. But this three rods we are going to place port and starboard of the compass. So this is the center line passing through the compass. Now we are going to place this in the athwartship plane. So there can be rod like this and can be rod like this. Now you would have understood by now that this should be positive and positive. On the other side, it should be negative and negative. Tell me why. Explain.
सर स्टारबोर्ड साइड है और कंपास फॉरवर्ड है, तो दोनों एंड पॉजिटिव हो गए स्टारबोर्ड साइड का, पोर्ट साइड में वो कंपास के पीछे है और पोर्ट साइड में इसलिए नेगेटिव.
Yes. This one is aft of the compass. The top end is port of the compass. So port and aft both are negative. Here, this one is forward of the compass. This one is starboard of the compass. So both are positive. And hence, this gives rise to D rod, which is positive D. Similarly, there can be rod like this, arranged in this manner, and the signs will change. Here there will be plus minus, and so this will give rise to minus D. Please verify your understanding whether it is correct or not and why it is so. Is it agreeable? Keeping the rules of naming the rods, this is justified?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
सर ये जो प्लस डी वाला है सर, इसमें
हाँ.
स्टारबोर्ड साइड में प्लस प्लस है एंड पोर्ट साइड में माइनस माइनस. तो ऊपर जो हमने लिखा है नेगेटिव एंड पॉजिटिव इज नेगेटिव, तो ये रिजल्टेंट इसका प्लस डी कैसे हुआ सर?
नहीं, हम तो इसकी बात कर रहे हैं ना. हम इस पूरे रॉड का नाम हमको देना है कि ये पॉजिटिव रॉड है या नेगेटिव रॉड है.
ओके.
और हमें नाम देना है. देयर कैन बी a situation, for example, that the compass is like this and there is a rod which is existing like this. What should I name this rod? Is it positive rod or negative rod?
Negative.
Why negative? This is negative, this is negative, so the rod is positive, na?
Resultant. Yes, sir, positive.
यही वाली स्थिति है ना वहां ऊपर में जो देखा आपने एरो.
Yes sir, okay.
So we are not actually competing between the two. हम इन दोनों के बीच में compete नहीं कर रहे हैं. हम एक रॉड का अपना ही साइन डेवलप कर रहे हैं अभी. ऐसा हो सकता है कि जहाज में हमारे पास दो पॉजिटिव रॉड्स हों, ये और ये, या हो सकता है कि एक ही हो सिर्फ हमारे पास, एक पॉजिटिव रॉड ऐसे है, या हमारे पास पॉजिटिव रॉड दूसरे तरीके से भी हो सकता है अथवा शिफ्ट डायरेक्शन में, which we are going to take a look now. So please verify both the figures are okay.
साइड वाला कैसे नेमिंग
Right
किया?
side? Okay.
नेगेटिव में पोर्ट साइड वाला कैसे नेमिंग किया? वो माइनस एंड प्लस कैसे आया नहीं समझ आया.
All right. So here we have this rod. Let us say this one, this end. Is this end the closer end to the compass? Arrow जिस पे लगा हुआ है.
यस सर.
Is this closer end starboard of the compass?
यस सर.
So what should be the name given to it?
पॉजिटिव.
Okay. Now the orange color end, the bottom end. Is it the far end of the rod?
यस सर. फार एंड है एंड कंपास के पीछे तो नेगेटिव दे दिया. एंड सर
पीछे नहीं है, पीछे हाँ पीछे है, ठीक है. It is aft of the compass. It is aft of the compass, so negative. So this rod should be negative rod. Justified or not? Plus minus minus.
हाँ जी सर. सर पोर्ट साइड में नीचे नेगेटिव क्यों लिया है? पोर्ट साइड का तो पॉजिटिव रहता है.
क्योंकि anything on the port is negative, anything on the starboard is positive. So this end, okay, the end indicated by arrow, green arrow, is it the closer end of the compass?
यस सर.
Is that port of the compass?
यस सर.
So should it not be positive, negative? Port में negative, starboard में positive.
ओके सर समझ गया. वो तो फिर फार्दर एंड अपने आप पॉजिटिव होगा
क्योंकि वो फॉरवर्ड ऑफ द कंपास है.
ओके सर.
This one, this end is forward of the compass, right? कंपास से आगे है ये वाला.
हाँ जी सर.
So positive हो गया. So this is D rod plus D and minus D.
सर जैसे कि ये जो हम लोग डी प्लस और माइनस ये जो दोनों रॉड्स का जो वो आएगा ओवरऑल उसको उसके बेसिस पे मिलेगा ना नेमिंग.
नहीं मैं समझा, फिर से प्लीज रिपीट योर क्वेश्चन. आई कुड नॉट अंडरस्टैंड योर क्वेश्चन.
सर जैसे ये रॉड प्लस डी माइनस डी बोल रहे हैं ना हम लोग, तो प्लस डी इज लाइक दोनों की दोनों रॉड जो स्टारबोर्ड और पोर्ट जैसे इसमें है प्लस डी में दोनों पॉजिटिव है, जो स्टारबोर्ड साइड में और पोर्ट साइड वाले भी पॉजिटिव, तो इसलिए ऑन दोनों पॉजिटिव है इसलिए हम लोग उसको प्लस डी बोल रहे हैं ना. इस केस में माइनस डी वाले में दोनों माइनस.
एग्जैक्टली. अगर आपके शिप में एक रॉड है, मतलब आपने कंपास में ऑब्जर्व किया कि देयर इज अ रॉड एग्जिस्टिंग लाइक दिस. व्हाट इज दिस रॉड? मैन दिस इज पॉजिटिव रॉड. This is a positive rod, forward of the compass, or rather starboard forward of the compass.
नहीं सर जैसे दो रॉड्स है तो इसका रिजल्टेंट देखेंगे ना हम लोग, मतलब जैसे दो है ना इसमें, इस केस में दो कंसीडर करेंगे.
नहीं, हम लोग इंडिविजुअली बोल रहे हैं. ये रॉड है तो ये रॉड भी पॉजिटिव है, ये रॉड है तो ये भी पॉजिटिव है. There can be a situation where the compass is like this and there is a rod like this. How do we call it? What do we call this rod which is developing some kind of magnetism which is going to influence the compass? How do we name it?
सर ये तो पॉजिटिव रॉड रहेगी, पॉजिटिव दोनों एंड्स.
Exactly. So this is a positive rod.
ओके.
Now suppose if we have another rod, not this rod, but we have we have another rod which is like this. How do we call this rod? What do we call this?
सर ये दोनों नेगेटिव एंड्स होंगे तो ये भी पॉजिटिव होगी.
Exactly. So we have a positive D. In the green case that we are seeing right now, we have a positive D rod. What kind of coefficient it is going to produce, we will see later. But we may have also another rod which is like this, which is also having a positive rod, and this is, both of these are positive Ds.
सर नहीं, जैसे ऐसा हो सकता है कि एक पॉजिटिव और एक नेगेटिव हो, इंडिविजुअल रॉड्स बोल रहा हूँ.
नहीं, अगर इस लोकेशन में होगा तो नेगेटिव नेगेटिव होगा. अगर दो रॉड हैं ऐसे, इफ यू हैव टू रॉड्स लाइक दिस, then you have one D negative and you have D positive. This one is negative. This one is negative. Why? Because this end is port, so negative. This end is forward of the compass, so positive. So this rod is negative D. The same here, you have a positive D.
मतलब ऐसा हो सकता है ना सर, एक नेगेटिव और एक पॉजिटिव डे देना, मतलब पॉसिबिलिटी है.
अभी तो आप जो देख रहे हैं वही आप कह रहे हैं ना कि ऐसा पॉसिबल है या नहीं.
यस सर, यस.
So it is possible, as we are saying, it is possible if there is a negative D rod, there is a positive D rod around the compass. This will produce another kind of coefficient. This will produce another kind of coefficient. ये कुछ करेगा, जो ब्लू में देख रहे हैं, ये कुछ इफेक्ट प्रोड्यूस करेगा, डेविएशन कुछ करेगा, ये डेविएशन नीचे वाला कुछ और करेगा. दोनों का नेट इफेक्ट विल बी अलजेब्रिक सम. +3 -2 will be +1. एक ईस्टर्ली डेविएशन दे रहा है, मान लो फॉर एग्जांपल कि पॉजिटिव डी ईस्टर्ली डेविएशन दे रहा है 5 डिग्री, नेगेटिव डी वेस्टर्ली डेविएशन दे रहा है 3 डिग्री. सो इन दोनों का ओवरऑल इफेक्ट क्या होगा?
सो 2 डिग्री ईस्टर्ली.
2 डिग्री ईस्टर्ली, दैट्स ऑल.
ओके, ठीक है सर, समझ गया.
यस. सो क्विकली 5 मिनट है, मैं सारे ड्राइंग दिखा दे रहा हूं. टेक ए लुक एंड ascertain yourself that everything is fine. I want to be done with this diagram. 2-4 मिनट ऊपर शायद लग जाए, लेकिन वर्टिकल वाली प्लेन में भी दिखा दूंगा आपको, so that we can proceed further in the next class. Please tell me when it is okay. Yes, this is okay. Understood.
Okay, sir, understood.
Then vertical plane. Up and down we are looking at. Up and down में there can be a forward aft rod. There can be a thwartship rod. And there can be vertical rod, which is oriented vertical. So we have this 9 kind of rods. Remember that each of them are going to produce some kind of deviation. The deviation that they produce will be factor of the course that they are doing. I mean, the course the ship is doing. Some of them produce deviations, which is a function of cos of the course. Some of them produce deviation, which is sine of the course. Some of them produce twice the course, or the course twice the cos of twice the course. Some of them produce sine of twice the course. So we need to have a single formula which incorporates the effects of all these 9 rods. We need to have a consolidated one formula for finding out the deviation which incorporates all these coefficients or all these 9 rods, which are going to produce some kind of, some easterly, some westerly, some more, some less. So net kitna hoega? Algebraic sum will be derived from a formula that will be happening in the next class. So we'll talk about the formula, and then we will start talking about each coefficient in detail. What each of these rods are producing. For example, as we said, rod B and rod D, minus D and plus D are going to produce this kind of coefficient. Minus D and minus F is going to produce this kind of coefficient. The value, again, cos of the course, or maybe sine of the course, or maybe twice the course, sine of the twice the course, or cos of twice the course. We'll take a look at that in the next class. Are we good?
Yes, sir.
So, bye bye for now. I think we have, okay, done it in 5 minutes extra taken.
सर
Very good, gentlemen.
एक क्वेश्चन पूछना था जायरो में से।
हाँ बोलिए।
सर जैसे जायरो का न्यूमेरिकल आएगा in case
just 1 second, class is officially broken. We can leave now. Unless you want to hear this, I'm stopping the